How did Gordon Ramsay make his money? Celebrity chefs have redefined what it means to be a professional in the kitchen. Now, they're the face of the industry, and there's one face among others which is globally recognized: Gordon Ramsay. You may be fascinated by his kitchen fury, entertaining shows, world-class restaurants, or parallel lifestyle, but for whatever the reason is, Gordon Ramsay is not a name to be forgotten. The story behind his current net worth of over $200 million is very endearing, a complete opposite to the furious chef that graces our screens. Ever wondered what Gordon Ramsay would be doing if he wasn't a chef? You get to find out later in this video, because today on Luxury Living we are taking a close look at his success story. How did he achieve international success as a young man with a haunting childhood? What are his biggest sources of income? From the United Kingdom to global domination, it's time to unload the life pantry of Gordon Ramsay. Early life. Gordon James Ramsay was born on the 8th of November 1966 in Scotland. His family moved to England when Gordon was 5, and that's where he was raised. His father was the bottom barrel when it came to bearing the responsibilities of the family and simply being a good dad. His father was a chronic alcoholic, abuser, and womanizer. Gordon's father would beat their mother up in fits that were too often and so violent that Gordon and his siblings were taken to a children's home while their mother was hospitalized. In addition to the abuse, Gordon's father couldn't hold a job, so they often had to move houses because their homes came along with the jobs. There were a lot of inconsistencies, and double the amount of trauma while Gordon Ramsay was growing up. But he set out to be a better man than his father in several ways. As a young boy, Gordon Ramsay was very interested in sports, and he was exceptional in football. His love for the sport had kicked up, no pun intended, when he was 7, and his uncle took him to watch a Rangers game at Ibrox. A few years later, teenage Gordon was moving to Glasgow to sign for the Rangers football club. So, to answer the question on your mind, if Gordon Ramsay hadn't become a chef, he would have become a professional football player. But something heartbreaking cut his football dreams short. While playing non-league games for his trial at the club, Gordon sustained a devastating injury to his knee. He was let go from the team and his aspirations were shattered, but he had another interest which he decided to pursue. When Gordon was 19, he enrolled at North Oxfordshire Technical College for the Vocational Hotel Management program. Gordon Ramsay's life path switched from a football stadium to a cooking station. Career. First attempt. At first glance, Gordon Ramsay seems like the typical celebrity chef who has it all. But the journey to his success wasn't at all pleasant. He had made a decision that completely transformed his life, but it took a lot of hard work to get him to the top of the ladder. After completing his program at catering school, Gordon got a job as a commis chef at the Roxton Hotel House in the mid-1980s. From that position, he moved to run the kitchen and dining room at the Wickham Arms. Then, he moved to London and worked at different restaurants, picking up available positions just to earn a living and continue improving his skills. Gordon eventually landed a job working for Chef Marco Pierre White at Harvey's, and he was there for almost 3 years before the chef's infamous temperament caught up to him. He left Harvey's because he had gotten fed up with the constant bullying and rages from the chef. This is quite ironic when you think about it, but let's cut him some slack since he was in his early 20s. After his exit from Chef White's viciousness, Gordon decided he was going to focus his study on French cuisine, so he went to work for Albert Roux and Le Gavroche in Mayfair. It was during this time that he met Jean-Claude Breton, who was currently the maitre d'hotel at his first ever restaurant, which we'll talk about in a little bit. A few years after working with Roux, Gordon took his interest in French cuisine to the actual location. When he was 23 years old, Gordon moved to France to work with Michelin-starred chefs Guy Savoy and Joel Robuchon, and he continued his training for 3 years. Gordon took a year off of the restaurant scene to work as a private chef on a yacht before returning to London in 1993, and that's when his career picked up. Career success. By the late 90s, Gordon Ramsay was already an iconic name in the restaurant and culinary industry. So it was not much of a surprise when his old boss, Marco Pierre White, offered him the position of head chef at Rossmore, which was later named Aubergine. 14 months after taking the job, Gordon won his first Michelin star with Aubergine. By 1997, Aubergine had received another Michelin star. But despite the success, Gordon left in 1998 to start his very first restaurant, the Restaurant Gordon Ramsay in Chelsea, London. 3 years after it opened, the restaurant had gotten 3 Michelin stars, and Gordon Ramsay is recognized as the first Scotsman to achieve this feat. Although Gordon has received and lost a few more Michelin stars in his career since then, the restaurant Gordon Ramsay still holds its 3 stars to date, making it the longest running 3 Michelin starred restaurant in London. Gordon's passion and skills brought great success and a lot of popularity to restaurant Gordon Ramsay, and a fatter paycheck to his wallet. But that's not the only thing that pays his bills. Restaurant Gordon Ramsay was the starting point, but it's been 22 years and you won't believe how many restaurants Gordon Ramsay has now. Just hold on to your hats and keep watching to find out. How Gordon Ramsay makes his money. From his flagship restaurant back in 1998, Gordon Ramsay has been involved in several successful ventures and his income just keeps going higher. With his first glimpse at the entertainment industry with the 1998's Boiling Point and 2000's Beyond Boiling Point documentaries, Gordon Ramsay grew into a household name, even among those who can't afford to eat his meals. And he has actually been recognized with an Order of the British Empire, which makes him Gordon Ramsay OBE. With his portfolio and reputation, here's a quick rundown of how Gordon Ramsay makes his money. Restaurants. You may find it hard to believe, but Gordon Ramsay's $220 million net worth gets a significant impact from his, wait for it, over 30 restaurants. Yes, that's right. The Hell's Kitchen boss has restaurants on about 3 different continents, and the total number of doors, with his name on them, go way above 30. Gordon has restaurants in London, New York City, France, Italy, Dubai, Canada, Tokyo, Ireland, and he even has one in an airport. But we'll get to that later. Each of his restaurants are venues for exquisite fine dining, and some of the more exclusive locations you may have to book 3 months in advance. Now, we all know that the food business is good, but with more than 40 restaurants, it is a great business for Gordon Ramsay. TV shows. After the Boiling Point documentaries, Gordon appeared on an episode of Faking It in 2001, and that year the episode won the BAFTA for the Best Factual TV Moment, and that launched his career in reality TV. In 2004, he appeared in Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares and Hell's Kitchen, 2 original British series. By the next year, Fox Network brought him to the American screens with Hell's Kitchen US. 5 years after he moved to American Culinary Entertainment, Gordon Ramsay became a judge and producer on MasterChef, a position he maintains to date. He is currently the face of top Fox shows that air across 200 global territory. His average salary per episode is about $225,000. Don't bother thinking about how many episodes he records, or you'll give yourself a headache. All you need to know is that between 2018 and 2019, Gordon Ramsay made $65 million from the earnings of his media and restaurant ventures. Yeah, $220 million doesn't seem so unrealistic now, does it? But that's not all. Books, culinary courses, and masterclasses. When he is not screaming his knowledge at reality TV contestants, Gordon is passing it on through cookbooks, autobiographies, and a Times Saturday Magazine's food and drink column. He also teaches culinary courses and private masterclasses for those who can afford to attend. You may detest his constant rage on screen, but you can't deny the fact that he's a brilliant chef. That's why his books, courses, and classes constantly sell out, adding to his impressive wealth. Production company. When you've been in front of the screen long enough, you're bound to know 1 or 2 things about how it works, and Gordon Ramsay definitely knows. He had received several credits for his production and directing skills on the shows he hosts, but Gordon took a step further in 2016. He started his production company, Studio Ramsay, to create scripted and unscripted shows centering on cooking, and it has definitely been a profitable venture. YouTube. Still in the world of media, Gordon Ramsay has a YouTube channel where he posts content to his over 13 million subscribers. With those numbers, it is yet another stream of income for the celebrity chef. Food line, dinnerware, and cookware. With 35 restaurants to his name, Gordon Ramsay is an authority on dining and cooking, and he has the products to prove it. His Gordon Ramsay food line has everything in stock from spices to jams and oils made to the chef's standard. So you have your ingredients, but what do you cook with? Gordon has you covered, with a cookware collection of pots, pans, toaster ovens, and even deep fryers. Then you're all set to dine with his dinnerware collection that includes literally everything you can think of, from plates and mugs to knife sets. Gordon's name on anything will sell, but Gordon's name on cooking-related things skyrocket. Plain food. For someone who reportedly doesn't eat on airplanes, Gordon is doing his bit to make sure people are eating good food on their flights. He has a restaurant, Plain Food, in the Heathrow airport, and they offer standard packages on airplane food for those flying from the terminal where it's located. Nothing beats flying in comfort with good food, and people will definitely pay for the experience and satisfaction. Mobile game. Lastly, and just as significant, Gordon Ramsay has a self-titled mobile cooking game. While the game is free to download, it has in-app purchases, and the sales go straight to Gordon. When you put together these multiple streams of income, Gordon Ramsay's net worth is the only valid conclusion you can get: lifestyle and philanthropy. Gordon Ramsay is a celebrity by every standard, and he is also an exceptional chef, so success is only to be expected. And when you work as hard as he does, you get to spend as he does. Gordon has several properties in the United Kingdom that are worth about $20 million in total. With the majority of his business in the United States, it's only right that he has a place to call home. In 2012, he dropped a smashing $6.75 million for his Bel Air home in Los Angeles, California. He also has an impressive car collection, but what makes Gordon Ramsay stand out is his philanthropic activities. Gordon Ramsay is no stranger to participating in activities to raise money for charity. He contends in athletic fundraising events and also heads a triathlon team. Additionally, he and his family donate to several organizations including Women's Aid. Gordon and his wife, Tana, also have their own charity, the Gordon and Tana Ramsay Foundation, which works with organizations like the Great Ormond Street Hospital and the Louis Dunda Center for Children's Palliative Care. They also support Cancer Research UK, Action Against Hunger, the Scottish Spina Bifida Association, and Meningitis Now. Final thoughts. Gordon Ramsay is a product of years' worth of hard work and sacrifices. He could have backed down on his career at several low points, but he stood up every time. His commitment to living a better life than his childhood was a motivation for his resilience and drive. Gordon Ramsay can definitely afford his luxury living with a net worth of over $200 million.